Hello, welcome back to Learn Economy. In this video, we are going to discuss monetary policy. Having discussed the fiscal policy aspect, it's very important to understand what monetary policy is. Okay. So, what I've done is that for the sake of convenience, I have divided this topic into two segments. It's because the topic is a bit lengthy. That's what I could feel. So, for the sake of convenience, I have divided the topic into two sections. The first part would be covered in this video, and the next part would be uploaded soon. Just understand the meaning of monetary policy before going into its details. I think most of you might be knowing the meaning of monetary policy. Monetary policy involves the use of money supply by some appropriate authority. When we say appropriate authority in terms of monetary policy, we refer to the central bank of the country. And in the case of India, it is the Reserve Bank of India, which is acting as the central bank of the country. And when the central bank attempts to counteract the money supply through various credit control measures, what happens is that there would be some restraint in the economy because they are trying to reduce the amount of money which is available in the economy. As a result, they will make many attempts in order to reduce the money supply in the economy, and this situation is known as tight monetary policy. And on the other hand, the central bank will try to expand the economy by boosting the supply of money in the economy. And in this in this scenario, what the monetary authority does is that it will go for easy monetary policy or easiness in the monetary policy, because it is trying to boost the economy by expanding credit, etc. We have to understand that though this monetary policy elements or monetary policy has got its impact upon diverse and different aspects and different fields of the economy, the quantity of money is the primary element which gets influenced by monetary policy, first of all. And the monetary authority employs monetary policy to influence aggregate demand in the economy, and this mechanism is known as the money transmission mechanism. And an increase in the money supply by the central bank would mean that more money is pumping into the pockets of farms as well as household. As a result, people would be having more money with them, and they would be buying financial assets such as bonds from the market. And we have already discussed how this bond price and interest rates are related. There is an inverse relationship between both. And as a result, you could see that when the bond prices go up, interest rates will decline and vice versa. This will stimulate consumption, investment, spending, etc. in the market, and as a result of this, there would be an increase in the aggregate demand. As a result, there will be increase in the income, employment, etc. Now, the central bank is actually making certain attempts in order to control and regulate its money supply, but there are some certain other objectives of monetary policy, like maintaining internal and external stability, promoting high employment, stimulating economic growth. And also the central bank has got certain fiscal as well as social objectives. In order to meet all these kinds of objectives, the central bank go for monetary policy. And in order to attain certain goals, which we have already discussed, what the central bank does is that the central bank make use of certain instrument or tools, which we refer to as the tools or instrument of monetary policy. For example, there would be bank credit, there would be some open market operations, etc. We will discuss all these things in detail. If you go for bank credit, we have to understand that it plays a very important role, especially when it comes to developmental aspects and all. So a lack of availability of cheap credit, at the same time, it can hinder economic development of a country. So it depends upon whether the economy is going through a phase of recession or depression or inflation, etc. So whatever monetary policy the central bank adopts, first of all, it has to understand the prevailing economic situation. So then only it can go for appropriate monetary policy. It will actually try to analyze the prevailing economic situation. It will try to get an understanding of the prevailing economic situation. Then it will go for the appropriate monetary policy, which is needed for the prevailing situation. So, for controlling and regulating credit, for controlling money supply, or for dealing with or external and internal kind of balance, etc., with respect to this money supply, what the central bank does is that it has got two measures to or two methods to deal with this money supply. First method is known as a quantitative method, which is also known as general method. This under this method we have got certain number of small methods. So all these methods which come under the quantitative or general methods aim to change the total quantity of credit which is available in general. Okay. And the methods which come under the quantitative credit control methods are bank rate, repo rate, open market operation, and cash reserve ratio. Also, we have got some qualitative credit control methods which are known as the selective credit control methods. These are tools which aim at changing the volume of a specific type of credit, or we can say that these are methods which would affect the use of credit for a particular purpose. Moving to the first topic or first instrument which come under the quantitative credit control measure, which is the bank rate. This is the minimum rate at which the central bank of a country provides loans to the commercial bank, and bank rate is also known as the discount rate, and this is mainly because during earlier days and all, central bank used to provide finance to commercial banks by rediscounting bills of exchange. Bank credit these days, as we have discussed, plays a very important role, especially when it comes to development, money supply, etc. And changes in money supply would affect the aggregate demand and output, income, employment, everything. For instance, when there's a when the central bank goes for increasing the bank rate, what happens is that the cost of borrowing by the commercial bank from the central bank would increase, and this would discourage the commercial bank to borrow from the central bank. As a result, what happens is that when the bank rate is increased, the commercial bank would also increase their lending rates. This would discourage the businessmen, industrialists, etc. As a result, this will contract the investment levels in the economy. As a result, we can see that if there is a contraction in the bank rate, that will lead to reduction in the money supply in the economy, which would reduce aggregate demand in the economy, which would act as a what medicine, which would act as a medicine if the inflation is growing up in the economy. So that means that it will check the inflation in the economy, it will curb the inflation in the economy, and it will fight the inflation in the economy. That's when the economy is gripped by inflation or rising prices, the bank rate is generally increased to contract credit creation by the banks. On the other hand, when the economy is in recession or depression, the bank rate is lower to overcome it. A fall in the bank rate would cause a reduction in lending or interest rate, lending rate or interest rate. And with the credit or loans from banks becoming cheaper, what happens is that businessmen, industrialists, everyone will be very much interested to come and borrow from commercial bank. This would increase aggregate demand in the economy, which would in turn increase the income, employment, etc. in the economy. So if a country permits the free flow of funds in and out of the country, it's important to note that this would change. Then changes in the bank rate will have an effect on the external flows as well. For instance, you could see that when the bank rate is increased, all the interest rate in the market would also increase. With the rise in the deposit rate of interest, funds from outside would be attracted to banks to the country, which is under question. Okay. Further, with the rise in the deposit rate, outflow of funds would be there. This would be the flow of funds from the bank to the other countries. And as a result, these would affect the capital flow of the country, and this will have a favorable effect on the balance of payment of the country, and which will help to deal with the problem of current account deficit. If you look at the scenario of India, you could see that India is a country which is running on huge import bill, as well as its export is slowing down. As a result of the same, as a result of the simultaneous occurrence of both of these things, our current account deficit is growing, and when the capital inflow is lesser than capital outflow, or capital outflow is greater than capital inflow, what happens is that this would create a lot of problems. When the foreign capital is withdrawn from a debt and equity market, not only our stock market would crash, but also there would be other impacts like this will raise the demand for foreign exchange reserves or foreign currencies. As a result of the increase in demand for foreign currencies, the exchange rate of rupee per foreign currency would increase, and as a result of the same, the exchange rate of rupee per foreign currency would fall. As a result, the Indian rupee would depreciate. Depreciation involves lowering reduction in the value of our currency means the domestic currency, which is considered to be a desirable aspect when the intention is to increase exports and reduce imports. However, because our demand for imports is inelastic, the prices rise as a result of depreciation, but the volume of imports would remain unaffected. And rise in the price of imports therefore we can see that this would contribute to inflation and the economy would worsen. The situation of the economy would worsen further. To prevent this, what we want is we have to keep our interest rate high. So we have to make it important that the changes in bank rate would affect the credit creation by banks through altering the cost of credit. Changes in cost of credit would affect borrowings of commercial bank from the central bank, and this would also affect the demand for credit by businessmen from commercial banks. Coming to the scenario of India, we could see that there was a difference between the pre-reform period and post-reform period. And if you refer to the pre-reform period, that means before 1991, the interest rate charged by the banks remain unchanged at 10%. But after the reforms, in order to control the inflationary pressures in the economy, bank rate was raised from 10% to 11%. However, since then, bank rate has been rarely used, mainly for two reasons. The bank rate is meant for longer intermediate period of regulating the interest rate charged by banks from their customers, and thereby this would influence the cost of credit. However, in the context of India, what we could see is that what was needed to regulate liquidity of bank was short-term period or short period interest rate was needed. Second, even now when lending rate of interest have been freed from control by RBI, there is not much refinance being made available at bank rate, and therefore the banks can ignore it as a reference in setting their own lending rate. However, the need for influencing the lending rate of banks and liquidity of Indian banks was not much affected. Therefore, in 1997, Reserve Bank of India introduced under this LAF, that means Liquidity Adjustment Facility, a rate of interest known as repo rate. Under repo rate, bank could get overnight short-term loans from Reserve Bank of India to meet their needs if there is any need. Through repo rate system, Reserve Bank could buy securities from the commercial banks and thereby provide loans to them. The rate of interest at which the RBI lends overnight funds to banks against securities is known as repo ratio. Repo rate is a short-run interest rate and bank rate is a long-run interest rate, which is charged by the Reserve Bank from the commercial banks whenever the commercial bank borrow from Reserve Bank. So you have to understand the difference between repo rate and bank rate. It's very often to see that people confuse repo rate and bank rate, and some people use repo rate as a synonym of bank rate and bank rate as a synonym of repo rate, but this is not correct. Both of these things are different, so you have to understand the difference. The introduction of repo rate, as we could see, this has helped the Reserve Bank to increase its liquidity, and there is also reverse repo mechanism, which is the reverse of repo rate. Repo rate, we have seen, it is the rate at which commercial banks borrow from RBI, and reverse repo rate is the rate at which RBI borrows from commercial banks. The interest rate which RBI pays to the banks for funds where they keep it for short term is known as reverse repo rate, and through reverse repo, RBI mops up liquidity with the banking system. And repo refers to agreement for a transaction between RBI and commercial bank through RBI supplies funds immediately against the government securities, and simultaneously bank would agree to repurchase the same or similar securities after a specified time. Usually this would range between 1 day and 14 days. Through reverse repo, RBI mops the liquidity from the banking system by selling them security when it finds that there is excess liquidity in the system, which may create inflation pressures. Under repo agreement, bank can get short-term loans from RBI against securities to meet the needs of liquidity when there is a need. Thus, repo and reverse repo operations are very useful tools, especially when we have to deal with the short-term liquidity management. And reverse repo and repo operation should not be confused with the open market operation, which we will be discussing in the coming slides. As a tool for monetary policy, when Reserve Bank of India wants to check inflation, it would raise its repo rate. When the commercial bank finds it has something disinteresting, something that is not interesting as well as discouraging, what it happens that it will increase its lending rate, which would affect the businessman, industrialists, etc. On the other hand, when there is recession in the economy, the RBI would lower the repo rate, and as a result, the commercial bank would borrow from Reserve Bank at a very less interest rate, and this will encourage businessmen, etc., to borrow from this commercial bank at a low interest rate, because the commercial bank would be charging low interest rate from the businessman, industrialists, etc. As a result of the same, this would increase investment, consumption, etc. in the economy. So this will help the economy to come out of the problem of recession. You might have heard about this 2008 financial crisis, which has gripped the world economy, and India was not an exception here. Even India too was affected. What India government, and not specifically just leave out the government, what the Reserve Bank has done is that it has lowered its repo rate during this period, and it has lowered its repo rate from 9% to 4.5%, and this has helped our economy to come out of the problem, because this has helped the economy to increase our investment, our consumption, etc., which finally helped our economy to come out of the problem of recession, depression, so all these kinds of negative aspects. So having discussed bank rate, repo rate, reverse repo rate, just come to the open market operation. This involves the purchase and sale of securities. Here the sale of securities by central bank is done especially when it has to deal with the contraction of credit, and purchase is done when it has to deal with credit expansion. When the central bank sells securities in the open market, it will receive payment in the form of check on one of the commercial banks which involve in this kind of transaction. So with the reduction of cash, commercial bank has to reduce its lending whenever there is an increase in the whenever there is an whenever there is this kind of step taken by the Reserve Bank of India. We have to understand that the open market operation method is sometimes adopted to make bank rate or repo rate much more effective. So in the case of if credit contracts and all, when central bank purchases security, it pays through checks drawn on itself. This would increase the cash balance of the commercial bank and enables them to expand their credit, and vice versa. It could be noted that in order to deal with the problem of inflation, RBI sells government securities through the banks through open market operation and receive in return cash from them, which would reduce the liquidity of the banks, and this will lead to contraction of credit, and which will deal with the inflation situation. On the other hand, during recession, in order to expand credit supply, the Reserve Bank would buy securities from the open market, and with this purchase of securities, RBI pays cash funds to the banks, and this would raise the cash reserve or liquidity. And against this increase in cash reserve, banks are able to create credit or bank deposit through providing loans by a multiple of increase in their cash reserves depending upon the value of the deposit multiplier. Having discussed our repo rate, reverse repo rate, bank rate, open market operation, we have to come to discuss cash reserve ratio, and this would be explained by using an example. This means that as per law, banks have to keep a certain amount of cash money with themselves as reserves against their deposit. If you are lending this much, if they have deposit of this much amount, a certain portion of this deposit should be kept apart as reserves. That should not be lended. If the minimum cash reserve ratio is 10%, then the bank can keep 2,000 as reserves against the deposit of 20,000. The central bank, if it increases its cash reserve ratio from 10 to 20%, then the reserves of 2,000 could not support 20,000 deposit. It should be reduced to 10,000. So this means that contraction of credit. On the other hand, if the bank reduces the cash reserve ratio from 20 to 10%, then the reserves of 2,000 could support deposit of 20,000. That here there is expansion of credit. To sum up, increase in legal cash reserve ratio leads to contraction of credit, and this decreased legal cash reserve ratio leads to expansion of credit, and increase in legal cash reserve ratio would succeed in contracting credit only when the banks have no excess reserve. If banks are holding some excess reserves, then increasing legal cash reserve ratio will not bring about any contraction of the credit. On the other hand, reduction in the cash reserve ratio will have some desired effect on expanding credit only if the borrowers would respond favorably. That's all for today's video. And that's only just the first part of the video of the monetary policy. We will be continuing on the qualitative methods used by the central bank in order to deal with the money supply in the economy. So that's all for today. Please like, share and subscribe to this channel for more videos. And also I welcome you to my Telegram group and Telegram channel so that you can discuss your doubts, get it clarified, etc. Thanks for watching this channel.